Today's shout out is for Zuldinga. Giada, Font of Hope versus Meren, Zimone and Duskana. One lander, not a good start, especially in mono white, so we will try again into a 3-4 lander actually. Very slow, but we'll try it. Last in the turn order as well against what is likely an aggro deck, so... Oh, this is Terax, friend of the channel, so I think we have played against this one before and is likely an aggressive one. Haywire Might on turn 1 from the Meren player. So luckily we're not relying on a turn 1 Sol Ring. Would like to keep a Trouble in Pairs in play though, so maybe bait them with Court of Grace if we have to. Although we're likely to see this over and over again over the course of the game. Gonna have to gauge the plays that we make over the next few turns, the plays that we're likely to make, because we might have to get a tap land in with this. Yeah, maybe actually should have, because we've got a reasonable curve actually, probably should have started off with the tap land, but maybe we'll draw into another one. Rampant Growth from Zimone, and the Naya player gets down Archivist of Ogma as he sees that a library is about to be searched, so gains a life and draws a card. Wasn't able to get early access to the commanders unfortunately in Foundations, so I thought this week I would just play some of the older commanders that have been reprinted in Foundations, so hopefully look forward to some new commanders being played next week. Urborg is going to make it so that we can tap down the Flooded Strand for a mana, which might be of some relevance. We don't have to crack it into this anymore. I do want to make as many planes as possible for the Emeria, as is typical in mono black decks, or mono white decks even. A Dark Confidant played by the Meren. Alright, Solemn Simulacrum means we can play that before Court of Grace and Trouble in Pairs. Might as well play the Giada here though. Sky Hunter Strike Force is flying and melee, and with Lieutenant it can give your other creatures melee as well. So really nice overrun effect on a 3-mana creature. The 2/2 Archivist of Ogma goes in at the Simic deck. Glitch Interpreter. Played this in a deck recently, I can't remember which one though. When it enters, if you control no face down permanents, then you manifest Dread. And whenever a colourless creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So bounced it back to hand and manifested. Dark Confidant triggering for the first time with 5 cards in hand. And shows us a Buried Alive, so down to 37 off that. Might be that Meren is struggling on colours here though. Hasn't made another land yet. Okay, so sticks at 2 lands. We managed to draw into another Plains. So can we hold on to this after all? We're going to get a 5th land from the Solemn Simulacrum into the Throne of Eldraine. Yeah, I think that's fine. So let's get down a Plains and play ourselves a Righteous Valkyrie. And then we'll turn this in at Meren. I know he just lost out on a land, but I don't want to go easy on Meren because of the Haywire Might being abused like crazy. We really want our enchantments and artifacts to stick in play for as long as we can. Ghazali Pride Mage is exalted, and that can destroy an artifact or enchantment as well. So this swings in on its own, I imagine, goes in at the Simic player again. So it's melee and exalted. Turns this into a 4/4. Glitch Interpreter back out again. So we're going to stick in play this time. And hopefully deal some damage with this so that they can draw a card. Does manage to get through and draw himself a card, so we've got Meren down to 33 already. Reveals an unmarked grave this time, so able to load up his graveyard nicely if he can get into some mana. 31 life and 9 cards in hand. He's seen 2 additional cards so far, so pretty unlucky if he doesn't get into a land here. Could always use unmarked grave to put the Sakura Tribe Elder, which is one of the better cards in Meren, into the graveyard. And then if he does manage to get a run of luck, then maybe he's going to be able to catch us up quite quickly by Rampant Growthing on that. Archivist of Ogma triggers on the Tutor, decides on the Protean Hulk. Okay, he's running Protean Hulk combo, so I can't feel too bad for him. I was going to let up with the attacks over here, but don't think I will now. He's bound to draw into a land if he sticks it out with the Dark Confidant in play. Discards down to hand size a Razaketh as well, so he's loading up his graveyard at least, he's not doing nothing. Alright, another Plains for us, so we get that down this turn. And then it's probably Solemn Simulacrum, because we can only play white spells with this. Yeah, because I wanted to bait out the Haywire Might with the Court of Grace. Maybe bait this as well. Anyway, planes. Through to combat, we will hit here, and I'll hold back the 3/5 because I don't want this to swing in towards us, and get this solemn down before we pass. So we do search and trigger the Archivist of Ogma yet again. That either does everything, triggers a bunch of times, or it does nothing. It's doing well this game. So Terrax back up to 7 cards before passing the turn. Duskana enters play for the first time, so maybe we're about to be attacked despite the Righteous Valkyrie. Draws up to 10 cards in hand. The Archivist of Ogma goes to the right, Kazali Pridemate down the middle, and we still get the Sky Hunter Strike Force regardless. So +2 or even +3/+3 on everything, and then melee on each individual creature as well. So we've got 3 8/8s swinging in, and we're just taking damage here. I think we should hopefully be able to start trying to gain life with this. Cultivate to get some ramp for the Simic player. Doesn't have too much green available at the moment, but triggering the Archivist yet again. And then deciding to hold back at that with 7 cards in hand. So Dark Confident continuing to lose life over here. Showing an Elvish Mystic. Plays Elvish Mystic, which means the Haywire Might isn't available until his next turn, at which point he might not. Especially if he gets into a land for Meren, he might not want to play it. Which means we might be able to land the Court of Grace and do some good with it. My opponent certainly deserves kudos for continuing to play it out. And that is a Steel Seraph. We won't be able to make use of Throne of Eldraine's mana with this. We'll be able to get lifelink down though, as long as we pay the 6 mana for it. War Room, and then do we want to go Throne of Eldraine and hold up the Sajiri's Shelter? I don't think so. I think it's just Court of Grace for us. So let's go through to attacks. We'll hold back Solemn Simulacrum. Oftentimes that just acts as a pillow fort card because people are terrified of giving you the 1 card draw from that. So swinging to the left against Terrax this time. Leave the other 2 creatures back as blockers just in case. So after that small attack we'll get out the Throne of Eldraine. Now unfortunately we can't use Giada mana to hold up the shelter, but yeah, I'm just going to hope that we can, because I was thinking we could block this in order to give that protection and not have the monarchy taken away from us. Maybe it's just worth a Trouble in Pairs, and if it goes down then so be it. No, I think they'll definitely sacrifice this to get rid of Trouble in Pairs, and I do really want to keep hold of it. It'll just have to be the Court of Grace. We'll draw 1 card from it at least. So introducing the monarchy into play for the first time. And draw a card at the end of the turn into another basic for us if we want it to be. So we've got 6 planes available to us. It's 7 for the Emeria the Sky Ruin, I think. 6 mana, and our opponent taps out into a Mob Rule. Gain control of all creatures with 3 or less power. So that's pretty much all the creatures here, isn't it? So can you just take a player out here? Looks as though we're getting a lot of damage, but it has been spread around a little bit. Not sure who's attacking where, so just take note of the life totals and see who ends up at the lowest life. They are definitely going to take the monarchy away from us as well. And they've even got a mana left available for the Kazali Pride Mage if they want. Okay, so we go down to -16. Didn't take out the Simic player, leaving him at 2. And yeah, it should be easy enough to deal with Meren at this point, I would have thought. Glitch Interpreter triggers there, so we're able to draw a couple of cards thanks to a couple of colourless creatures dealing damage. That's the Manifest Creature and the Haywire Might. And then draws a card up to 10 and hands the creatures back at the end step. Discards to hand size a Prosperous Bandit, Wandertail Mentor, and Dust Till Dawn. So return all creature cards, power 2 or less from graveyard to hand. He can do that one from the bin. Evermire Elder is going to be far too slow for the Simic player. Now the Naya player tapped out gets a couple of hits back, takes the monarchy and draws a card because the Manifest Creature hit. Eureka Moment, draw 2, put a land into play from your hand. So it's down to whether or not our opponent can get into a Damnation or a Toxic Deluge. So it's down to whether our opponent can top deck into a Damnation or a Toxic Deluge. Maybe he's already got them in hand, it's just a land he needs. Draws into an Accursed Marauder with the Dark Confidence, so goes down to 14. Still not seeing a land, seemingly. And he cast a Footsteps of the Goyo. Return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield and sack it at the end step. So he's gone after the Protean Hulk. Is he going to combo off with Protean Hulk after all this? Searches with Archivist of Ogma for card draw. Got himself into Spore Frog off that. A Warren Soul Trader, which is likely part of a combo. Not sure if he can do a combo here, but can certainly make more mana with this thing. Got himself a Blood Artist as well, so I don't think he can combo off at all. Can certainly save himself with that Spore Frog though. Sol Ring for Duskana. So Terrax being punished for not working out combat and taking this guy out. The game may well last a lot longer than it should do. Duskana and the flying creature go down the right, the other two go down the middle. So triggering melee and +3/+3 again. So does Meren allow the damage through here so that it can get rid of the Simic player who doesn't interfere with his game plan, is the question. Yavimaya blocks, but he's still receiving 7 from the Khazali Pride Mage. But that could trigger more life gain for the Blood Artist, which might be of some relevance. Looks as though Spore Frog is going to be triggered here, so blocking the Duskana with it. And damage allowed there, okay, so goes down to 7, triggers Blood Artist a couple of times, allows his Spore Frog to be destroyed in combat. And there wasn't trample on any of the creatures, so he could have sacrificed the Spore Frog in response with this and made a treasure token. Maybe that would have been of some relevance. Anyway, still the Monarch, so draws a card at the end of the turn, 7 cards in hand and a bunch of mana held up. Noxious Revival, played for 2 life. Onto the Footsteps of Goyo, so gonna go after the Protean Hulk again, I imagine, and you have to imagine that that is going to be a combo. Wrist allowing a Dark Confident trigger there, although sacrificing the Dark Confident, doing that during the main phase, but I can't see if anything was revealed. I mean, it doesn't look as though anything was revealed with the Dark Confident. Anyway, managed to get into Meren with the treasure token. And is he going to have the Spore Frog able to enter play again? Even Interrupter. Exile a target spell, and it becomes plotted, so yeah, that is Meren going down here. Which I dare say is what our opponent was relying on with the Spore Frog. Oh, of course, he knew what was on top of his library, because of the Footsteps of Goyo was on top. Yeah, so it wasn't risky at all. He knew he was drawing into a 3-mana spell. Yeah, it was risky throwing away that Spore Frog. I think I definitely would have thrown this in the way instead if I was going to take damage. Can he use the Goyo spell? Yeah, he could have sacrificed these in order to replay the Goyo and get Protean Hulk back, but I'm not sure what his combos are. But anyway, the game was at least slightly interesting towards the end there, and sometimes you just get a quick one, so we didn't really do much of anything, unfortunately. But hopefully you all enjoyed it regardless. Big thank you to you all for watching, and a big thank you to the patrons for their financial support of the channel. I'm Tribalkai. Thank you for watching.